How deliciously prompt you are, Doctor. You're only an hour late.
I saw your painting. I think the artist has done you justice.
If he has, Dr. Heatherton, he's the only one in the 54-year history of my sojourn on Earth. No one has ever done me justice. Beginning with God.
There is nothing wrong with your podcatcher. Do not attempt to pause it. Welcome to a private recording about 3 separate anthology series, each a masterpiece in its own way. This is the dimension of gushing. It is an area we call the Sci-Fright Zone.
Welcome to the Sci-Fright Zone, where 2 fans of anthology series go through the Outer Limits, Night Gallery, and the Twilight Zone. I'm Diana.
I'm Alisha.
Now, the first episode of Night Gallery, this was actually a TV movie made in November 8, 1969. You wouldn't be aware of this, but this actually has a very different feeling from the regular show we'll be watching in a few weeks. The intro is different, the presentation is different. In this, the Night Gallery itself is just seems to be like a warehouse of a spotlight, whereas it becomes more liminal and weird later on, which I like. This is definitely a very different feeling show. The music here is different, and I kind of love it's got a weird electronic feel to it.
Oh yeah, especially in the first short, they kept having that weird synthy sting. I love that.
And, interestingly enough here, Rod Serling introduces all of us to 3 paintings that are covered up, and he'll take off the blankets, and it will cut into the show, and we don't see what the painting looks like until the end. This is something only for the movie, and we don't see that. Later on, all the paintings are actually our introductions to the episodes.
Oh. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
It was cool.
Presentation-wise.
Another interesting thing, before we actually get to the episode, all these paintings were done by the same person, and it's a different person than the guy that does all the regular Night Gallery TV show paintings. I've forgotten how to pronounce this man's name. I believe it is Yaroslav Geber? He was born in the USSR, but he became a very prominent artist for Universal. So he worked on this, and they couldn't get him for the TV show because he was just a busy little guy. The paintings for all 3 of these segments actually involve around paintings to some degree. Mm-hmm. They're all beautiful. That's not to say I don't love the paintings in the main show. I think I like them more, but there's just a feel to these that it's just a shame that we only see these the one time.
Yeah, I really like them too.
The first painting unveiled to us is simply called Cemetery, and we immediately see a gothic-looking manor where right next to it, if you can believe it, is a cemetery. It's actually the family plot for the Hendricks estate. It's a cold, windy-looking day, which will be very important in a few minutes.
Unfortunately.
It's just worth noting that all 3 of these segments were written by Rod Serling himself, and this one was directed by Boris Sagal. William Hendricks is an old man who was an artist previously, but he has suffered a pretty severe stroke, and his movements are very limited, and he is attended to by his butler, the best boy in the world, Portifoy.
Portifoy!
Yeah, if you watch the episode, they say Portifoy dozens of times. So he's the only character you'd remember the name of.
God, where did they even get Portifoy? That is such a good name. Portifoy! I love that. Sorry.
No, that's good. It's like watching the episode again.
Yeah, exactly.
This manor is filled with lots of art, all painted by Hendricks himself. So,
yeah, I'm a particular fan of his haunting self-portrait that he puts at, the top of the staircase.
Yeah, you need to know who owns the mansion, and it makes for some very good shots. I feel like Hendricks was really interested in shot composition, where if we have the camera below the stairs, we can have him haunting over us. So, that was good of him.
Yeah, I mean, if I was super rich, I would live for the drama too. So.
Osmond Portifoy, to use his full name, he seemed to believe that he was the only heir to Hendricks, because Hendricks doesn't have any family that he knows of. But we meet the worst character in all of fiction, Jeremy.
And he's such a Jeremy, too.
I love him. He is He chews every scene. He is the best actor they
Oh
could
my
have gotten
God.
for this.
He chews the scene to bits. It's so good. With his little Cajun accent,
Mhm.
I love it. And his dumb little 70s jacket.
And it's weird he had a 70s jacket because this is from 1969.
True, but 1969 is almost
It
the
is.
70s, so it counts.
Something funny to think about is this is 10 years after the Twilight Zone started. Just think about how much things changed. This is like, I believe, 4 years after the Twilight Zone ended. So when you watch this, you will think this looks very much like the 70s. And Night Gallery, the TV show proper, is very 1970s looking. It almost looks like a stereotype. But then you go back to the Twilight Zone from a few years before, and not to say 50s and 60s, like early 60s clothes, held up as much, but they don't look as conspicuous. And you really get to see how much fashion changed in a really short period of time.
In a very strange direction.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm glad Night Gallery came out at the exact period it did. We'll get to an episode later where a hippie goes to hell. Jeremy is an estranged nephew of Hendrix. He'll have to inherit the estate. Basically, Hendrix put in his will that he wanted to give everything to... Is it his sister?
Yeah, it was his sister.
Yeah. He wants to give everything to his sister, and if she is not alive anymore, then basically her heirs. And that leaves Jeremy to inherit everything, to Portifoy's dismay.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy is not subtle about what he cares about. The first chance he gets, he takes the wheelchair of Hendrix, puts it up to a drafty window when he is susceptible to pneumonia, locks the brakes in, and basically locks him in the room, so he'll die.
Yeah, but it's pretty dark.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, he, walks into his room and, lays in his uncle's bed, and is just a big piece of shit about it. Just the worst guy.
And a few hours later, the doctor and his personal lawyer are there, looking at the currently comatose body of Hendrix. And Jeremy is basically asking the lawyer, hey, can I have my money now?
Yeah, and I love how much the lawyer just absolutely hated him. Everyone was sick of Jeremy's shit.
Especially because Jeremy shouldn't actually know about the will, but he rifled through all of his paperwork.
Yeah.
After he asks for the money, the lawyer says he's not even dead yet. And with comedic timing, the doctor comes out and says he's dead.
Very unfortunate.
Jeremy wants the money, and the lawyer says, let's wait for a funeral and be like civilized people. And Jeremy says he's not civilized, he just wants the money now.
And he's just so smarmy about it.
I love him. He knows exactly what he wants, and he does not care how people feel about him. This is the kind of guy that, if he was born decades later, he would be a Sigma male influencer.
Yeah, he would be.
To add insult to injury, Portifoy had been working for Hendrix as a butler for 30 years. It's also worth noting, Portifoy is the one black person in this entire story. He's been working as a butler for a few decades. You could imagine what his life was like earlier in his career in, the 40s and 50s. He's worked through all this, and he seemed to care for Hendrix. I don't think the feelings were entirely mutual, because in the will, it states that Portifoy will get a stipend of $80 a month for as long as he lives. And I had to convert this because this episode has a lot of money involved, so in 2025 money, it's about $700. I would gladly take $700 a month, but it's a bit different than, if a rich man dies, and that's all you get.
Yeah, that's I don't even think back then that was enough to live on.
It wasn't livable, but it's, it would help.
Still nothing to sneeze at, but
that's...
You think you would get more.
That's in my case, that would mean, my rent is cut dramatically.
Yeah, me too.
But still, Portifoy is a bit sad and asks Jeremy if he can continue working for him, just because he needs a livelihood. And Jeremy is fine with that and just says, first up, get rid of all of my uncle's possessions.
Yeah.
And conveniently, Hendrix is buried in the family cemetery right next door.
Oh yeah, when he like pushed his uncle to the window, he was like looking right over the cemetery and was like, "Oh, it's like a potential renter looking at where they're gonna live soon." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so macabre." Shitty little Jeremy.
Yeah, but he said it with such charisma, I can't be mad at him.
True. I mean, dude knows what he's about.
Now, unfortunately, Jeremy notices, there is like a painting on the stairway that shows the front of the mansion and the family cemetery perfect angle, and he can see that the family cemetery painting has been altered and now shows an open grave. Jeremy is a bit concerned, and Portifoy just does not care. Which is Portifoy's entire thing this episode is just he doesn't care. Now, Jeremy looks at it again, and it shows a coffin sticking out of an open grave. Portifoy still just doesn't care, he doesn't really notice it.
Yeah, I was so excited about at this point. I was like, "Ooh, I think I see where this is going."
Jeremy grabs his painting and throws it into the fire. So, hurrah, he solved everything. But then he looks back at the wall and the painting is there again. And this time it shows his uncle's corpse sticking out of a coffin.
Yeah, it's so good.
The next day, this keeps continuing, and it keeps being altered in more and more ways. Jeremy is really distressed, and Portifoy just says, "Oh, it's just your imagination."
Yeah, and then Jeremy the shithead, like, he was holding a tray with a teapot that had, like, hot water in it, and he, like, flipped it out of Portifoy's hands and, like, burned him. And he was like, you burned me! And then Jeremy was like, "Oh, it's just your imagination." And I'm like, oh.
Portifoy quits and says that Hendrix needed him in his life, but not in death, and that he's pretty capable of taking care of himself in death. He then says hate is stronger than death.
Yeah, that just drops the hardest line.
And Jeremy's basically complaining, saying, "Who's going to tend to me now?" And Portifoy says, "Use your imagination, you're good at that."
It's so good.
Yeah. Portifoy does nothing wrong in the entire episode, despite what the episode makes us think later.
Absolutely.
It's nighttime. Jeremy's all alone in the scary mansion with the updating painting, and he hears like some kind of weird creaking noise. While investigating, he sees the painting has been updated and Hendrix's corpse is walking out of the cemetery.
Yeah, it's honestly like pretty effective. It's pretty spooky.
And Jeremy is like begging for Portifoy. He calls the operator and asks if they can put him through to the hotel that he'd be staying at. And they can't do it because it's 3 a.m. He keeps looking at the painting, and it's getting closer. So then Jeremy...
He can hear footsteps outside.
He can hear footsteps, and Jeremy calls the police to say there's an intruder, which, you know, which is probably a smarter thing to do in this situation. You know, I don't know what I'd do if I had a scary zombie coming after me.
I probably wouldn't call the butler who hates me, though. But yeah, it's like this. It's this really good, just tension building of like hearing the noises and then switching to the painting, and he's getting closer and closer. And it's like, it's really good.
Yeah, no, it's this segment in particular. I feel is the strongest with its atmosphere, and this is a really good one. And it'll be interesting. I'll tell you about it later on, but this segment was the last one written by Rod Serling.
Really?
And it's also, from what I can tell, it's usually considered the weakest of the 3.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Now that's it's enticing the audience. Now they'll have to listen to the end.
Yeah, if you want that cool info.
Now someone is banging on the front door and trying to open it, and the painting shows the same thing. The painting shows that Hendrix's body is banging on the front door. Jeremy is having a little bit of a panic attack, as you can imagine, and he runs up the stairs.
Yeah, he's not doing hot.
He runs up the stairs, grabs the ominous painting of his uncle, and tries to, like, destroy it. But while doing so, he falls down the stairs and snaps his neck.
Yep, dumbass ate it.
And this is when we see Portifoy is the one at the door. They do it in a really dramatic way where you just see his feet, like you just see his shoes walking, and then it slowly pans up. But once we see that this person has a black hand in a story with a bunch of white people and one black guy, I'm sure you can piece out where it's happening. But yeah, they try to milk the drama and suspense.
And it is a cool shot, but yeah.
Portifoy calls the doctor and lets him know Jeremy must have fallen down the stairs and his neck is broken. We cut to sometime later, I think it's presumed to be a few months later. Portifoy is the new heir, and he's living a life of luxury.
He has this really nice smoking jacket, and he's got like a cigar. Like, he's living it up, dude.
He's having his best life for a few minutes, and he's talking to an artist called Gibbons. Now, he paid Gibbons $500 for every painting, and this was a whole scam where they basically got an artist who's good at recreating styles to make a series of increasingly scary paintings. Somehow Portifoy is like a stealth master because he repeatedly switched all these out. The logistics don't make sense, but enjoy it for what it is.
Not at all. Yeah, that bit, I was like, no, come on. How could he have done that? But, I mean, it was so fun, though. I'm just kind of like, sometimes stuff just has to happen for a fun plot to happen, so whatever.
And Gibbons is asking, okay, what if he didn't snap his neck? What would your plan be? And Portifoy is saying, well, he would have kept doing this till Jeremy went insane and was committed. Something I like is Portifoy says goodbye to Gibbons at the door, and Gibbons says, bye, Portifoy. And Portifoy corrects him and says, it's Mr. Portifoy.
Yeah, and they have a hearty chuckle about it.
Yeah, he is finally at the top of the social hierarchy. He is rich, he's happy. Nothing could go wrong. Unfortunately, Portifoy notices that the painting now has 2 graves on it, and then immediately in real time it keeps updating to show the grave opening and Jeremy's corpse getting closer to his house. And this isn't a trick, this is actually happening, and then Jeremy bangs on the door, and we don't get to see the final moments, but Portifoy didn't get his happy ending despite doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, the segment ends on the door opening and just the black void beyond. It's really good.
So yeah, I'm a bit upset that Portifoy didn't live happily ever after, because he deserved to.
Me neither. That dude had it coming. Usually when people get bad ended, okay, not always. When people get bad ended in a Twilight Zone episode, they have it coming. That's not true, but he definitely didn't have it coming.
He didn't, but I imagine this was done to I imagine that the network wanted something scary and supernatural.
Yeah.
And everything in this was just regular natural, so they had to do this.
No, I thought it was really cool. Oh no, there actually is spooky ghost shenanigans going on at the end. I thought that was cool. I just don't think Portifoy deserved it.
Yeah, no, they had to pick the nicest man in the world to die horribly. I
know.
Now, while we're in the high of this, I just want to ask, for the cemetery specifically, what would you rank it on an A to F scale?
Honestly, I'd probably give this one an A.
That's what I did as well. I gave this A. I am torn between which is my favorite. The first time I watched it, this was my favorite segment. I don't think it is anymore.
Right now, having watched it once, I think this one probably is my favorite one.
I'm glad you gave this an A and said this is their highest rated one. Because if you left it as a B or a C, it would be a bit sad.
I think it's this really good, weird little gothic horror story. Mm-hmm. And I love me some gothic horror. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just Jeremy's actor. He's just acting his heart out. It's so good. And then Rod Serling's writing style is just has such good gravitas to it, I think. And I think that really adds to the atmosphere.
And speaking of actors giving it their role and Rod Serling's weird writing style, we're up to the second of 3 segments, Eyes, which stars the wonderful Joan Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out in the commentary, she She struggled a bit with Rod Serling's writing style, and she had to have, like, cue cards to help her get the exact words, because Rod Serling doesn't write like a normal human being. He writes like an alien who's just discovered humans. And we love that about him, but he has a style.
Oh yeah, I love it. I adore his writing style. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just, the sentences he says, no one has ever said before.
No. But yeah, I actually looked that up. I was looking into the background of the episodes a bit, and yeah, I think she was like, I love Rod Serling, but oh my god, delivering that dialogue was like the hardest dialogue I ever had to deliver.
Yeah, and not only that, she had to deal with some no-name new director who hadn't done anything professional. Some guy called Steven Spielberg. You'll notice that in this segment, in Eyes specifically, I think it has some of the best directing and weird visual choices.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Little baby 20-something Spielberg was like a film school graduate who wanted to do all the cool things that people don't want to do because it's weird and time consuming. And this kind of feels like a weird student like thing where he's like, no, I don't care that this is impractical. We're doing this. And it's got a flavor.
This is going to be rad as shit.
Yeah. And the network didn't really like some of the things, but Joan Crawford stood up for him, which is nice.
Yeah, I think Rod Serling did too.
Yeah, Rod Serling did too. A lot of the staff on the show loved working with him, but, you know, there's a difference between the production side and the executive sides.
Yeah, I think I read that Steven Spielberg and Joan Crawford, like, they were friends until she passed away, which I thought was really sweet. They kept in contact.
Because they are basically two different eras of Hollywood. And it's nice that they met in the middle here.
And I just can't imagine being 22 and, like, making my, I guess, big-time directorial debut and getting to direct Joan Crawford. Like, the pressure is on, dude.
On a Rod Serling production back when, he was a household name at this point. This one is set in New York City, and it's about Claudia, who is a very rich woman who owns a penthouse, but more than that, she owns the entire building and has no occupants except for her.
It's very, very rich lady dramatic.
And to keep the theme intact, the first thing we really see is a painter that did a portrait of her, and one of the main characters, who we learn is a doctor, he comments on the portrait to the artist, and it's like, that's a very good likeness of her. And the artist says that he can't capture her cruelty, which I love.
Yeah, he called her like a little monster.
Yeah. All three of these segments are about art in some way or the other, but this is the one that struggles the most with it, because you saw a portrait of her, that's it.
And then there's a little something about her art collection later, but it's very tenuous.
This doctor does say, well, sure, she is cruel, but she's been blind since birth. As if that's an excuse.
Right.
You know, she's still got more money than any of us will ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we see her penthouse, and it is filled with art. It's got paintings, statues, basically everything. She's got like a chandelier. She's living the high life, and she is still a bitter, cruel person.
And the way we're introduced to her is just so amazing, because she's like sitting in her fancy chair, and it's facing out the window, but she can't see shit, you know. And she like presses a button on the chair and turns around very dramatically. It was really good.
The doctor is probably the closest thing to a person that she respects, but she'll still blackmail him, so she doesn't really care that much, but she does like offer like a compliment. She offers a compliment to him, which is nice, and says like she's like impressed by his like dedication to work. But she wants to do a very experimental surgery that has only been tested on dogs and, I believe, chimps. One dog and one chimp, to be specific. It's been tested twice, with varying results. But she doesn't care, she wants to try it. She wants to have the optic nerve removed and then put into her eyes, so then she can see, even though, at most, this will give her maybe about 12 hours or so of vision. And the person who donates their eye optic nerves will be blind for the rest of their life.
Yeah, it's very selfish.
And the doctor says, there's like 4 people in the world that could do this operation, and none of them will do this for you. This is beyond cruel.
Yeah, he was like, I'm one of them, so I can speak for all of us, and I can tell you nobody's going to do this.
But she is there with a manila folder filled with paperwork, basically saying, you will do this, otherwise I will blackmail you and ruin your career and marriage. Because years ago, he recommended to a pregnant woman a place that she could get basically a back alley abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman died during it because it was a very unsanitary place. The surgeon, she called a butcher.
Yeah.
And basically there's no way the baby or the woman would have really survived given the conditions.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the lady was his mistress.
Yeah, because he's basically
So I
saying
think that was his baby.
Yeah. Because he's basically saying like, yeah, this will ruin my 20-something-year-old marriage. This is the kind of stuff you don't want to keep out there. He covered it up pretty well. And she, being, the richest person ever, still has all this she had it typed up and everything.
In a nice little folder, yeah.
With photos. Like, she went to effort.
Yeah. Yeah, it honestly kind of blew my mind that they talked about, abortion so straightforwardly.
Yeah, I didn't expect that for a 60s production, but we will see during Night Gallery that the 70s standards for what you could get away with were a little more dramatic than early 60s. They even show they'll even show married couples in the same bed, if you can believe it.
Oh my god, the sin!
But it is funny that, like, a few years earlier, they had to be in separate beds, and now this time they're like, okay, here's an abortion.
Yeah, we're gonna blackmail this guy by talking about how he had an extramarital affair and then made her get yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. I just thought it was kind of cool that they didn't, like, shame that girl for going to get an abortion. It was just, like, a tragedy that she lost her life like that.
The doctor says, okay, but you won't find a donor willing to do this, to get rid of her optic nerves. And she says, everyone has a price. And we find out her lawyer found a donor, but he is a man that desperately needs $9,000, which in today's money is about 80 grand.
Yeah, which is a lot of money. But it's not quite like give up your vision forever money.
Yeah. He doesn't really know what he signed up for at this stage, but he needs the money desperately, because if he doesn't do this, he will be killed in like another day. He's owed money to the wrong people for long enough. From his point of view, this is almost like a kind of miracle, and then we find out how depressed he is very soon, in a very hard-to-watch scene. This whole thing with this donor is genuinely a struggle to watch.
Yeah, because he's like the sweetest little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he made some stupid decisions, but he's played by John Bosley, you know, so you just want to hug him. And you can tell that these people have just kind of manipulated him and are taking advantage of his situation. It's just like, oh, that sucks.
And the people that he owes money to, they're kind of like torturing him in the most like cartoon way by spinning him on like one of those, what's the word for it? Is it merry-go-round?
Yeah.
He's spinning him pretty leisurely on it, honestly. Like, not even like super fast, but still he's getting dizzy and he doesn't like it. But
yeah. This is when you get one of those cool, weird experimental shots, too. Like, it's like they put the camera on the merry-go-round, and it's, like, spinning. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I liked it.
It's amazing, and, we know that this guy says that if you don't give me the money, tomorrow, we'll kill you. So, there is real intimidation here, even if it just looks like two guys hanging out at a playground.
Yeah, I was honestly so worried that he was going to, like, sign that contract and they weren't going to tell him what the surgery was for until afterwards.
He finds out as he's, like, right before he signs it, he finds out, and he's like, I've got no choice.
Yeah, it's so awful. But your heart just breaks for him.
When he's with the lawyers going over the paperwork, he's like, will I still be able to cry from my eyes?
Yeah, and they're like, to your heart's content.
And then he's like, within, like, I'm a betting man, and I bet that within 24 hours I'll cut my throat.
Oh, God, yeah. That was so rough.
It's, like, genuinely hard to watch this. And, like, the Twilight Zone, which we're going to keep comparing it to, because that was Rod Serling's other thing.
Of course.
That was, that had some uncomfortable moments, especially when it dealt with race or politics, but, it's something that, like, people watch that, like, marathon that for New Year's and stuff, and it's, like, a big family event, and I just can't imagine having the family around watching this man, like, depressed because he has to give up his vision or else people are going to kill him.
Yeah, it's so dark. And then knowing that he's giving up his vision just so this lady can see for, like, 12 hours, it's just like, oh, God damn it.
Like, congrats, Rod. I hate you right now, but, like, you didn't have to write this.
How could you? He's so sweet.
You could have made this guy an unlikable piece of shit. Now, if Jeremy was having his eyes donated, I'd be happy, but no.
Ooh, yeah, I'd say do it twice. Regrow his eyes and take him again. Yeah. But I mean, I know that's the point, that she's rich and she's selfish,
exactly.
and she just thinks he's gutter trash, so what does it matter?
And, like, suddenly losing your vision. There are some people that lose their vision gradually over time and they can prepare for it, or if you're blind from birth, you basically just have to learn all the ropes. But when you lived decades and then suddenly lose your vision, Yeah,
that's a huge change. Yeah.
And just everything. Every little bit of your life would be a lot harder.
And then it's not like he's even going to get to use that money because he's just using it to pay off gambling debt. So it's like, ugh. Yeah, it's just the worst. Oh my God.
And like we said, this is like 80 grand or so. I don't know. A small part of me is thinking, how much would I actually donate my optic nerves for? But it would be significantly higher.
No, I was thinking the same thing. It would be much, to even get me to think about it, it would have to be much higher than that.
Yeah. It would be, 1% money.
Yeah, basically everything I love doing requires my eyeballs, so...
Yeah, but this podcast doesn't, so... hopefully there's a huge blind audience to us.
Yeah.
And also, like, I want to say this, like, tactfully, because, like, this episode's almost making it sound like being blind's the worst thing in the world, and it's not. It's that he is a gambling addict who has to give up a huge part of his body just to break even, and he was already living a shitty life.
Yeah, we're talking about a very specific situation. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to say anything bad
exactly.
about people
And the episode,
absolutely not.
I don't think the episode is either. It's just this is the man you want to hug, and you want to just give him all your money. If this guy had like a GoFundMe, I'd be donating, maybe 100 or something.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I hope it wasn't coming across as insensitive because
I know. I'm sure it's not, and I don't think that we have enough people listening to this to get mad at us anyway.
But just putting myself in those particular shoes, in that particular. That's all I need.
Yeah, if someone gave me a lot of money for this, it would be a lot of money.
A lot. But yeah, I think
terrible.
They're making a point about, like a rich person taking advantage of a vulnerable, poor person.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be politics.
It's a good thing it's a good thing like everything has changed now and we don't have this anymore. There's no rich people taking advantage of the poor. Gambling addictions are a thing of the past.
Yeah, it's not easier to access gambling than ever nowadays.
God, people used to have to go outside to gamble.
Yeah, they used to have to go to the casinos and the speakeasies.
I can't imagine that. That's too scary. That's what the Night Gallery segment should be. A man has to go outside and talk to people. We immediately cut from the scene with the lawyers to both Claudia and Sweet Boy Sydney in the private hospital where this illegal procedure is being done. This is very not by the books, obviously, as blackmail tends to be. And they're both getting ready, they're both being wheeled off into surgery, and we have another cool artsy moment.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
And they make it look like, okay, Sydney, his eyes, they try to make it look like his eyes are like transferring over to her by like overlaying the two.
It's like their heads are overlapping and like his eyes are opening over her eyes, so it's like, oh, she's stealing his eyes. It's cool.
So the operation seemed to be a success, but she's still bandaged up. And the doctor says, okay, you'll want to gradually take this off. And she's like, okay, I'll do that. And she explains her grand vision because she doesn't want to see the doctor again. She's just saying that she's going to memorize all of her beautiful sights, all of her paintings, all the art she has, all of nature. She's going to commit it to memory, and she'll be able to look back on it for the rest of her life.
Yeah, she has like all of her little statues and art pieces like arranged around her in a circle, so she doesn't waste any time.
We know, like, at most this could last maybe 12 hours, but, it could last a couple hours, maybe even a few minutes if it's successful at all. But she takes off her bandages, and she can see a bit of a chandelier in front of her, and she's loving it. And then a second later, it all cuts to pitch black. Like,
it was just so hilarious, the timing of it. It's just like immediately.
And you want to feel bad for her, but she is the biggest piece of shit since Jeremy. I honestly,
just the worst.
I don't know who's worse between Jeremy and her.
Oh yeah, they're both bad.
I'm trying to think, out of main-ish characters, which of the three in this series of anthologies is the worst?
I mean, I think it would just have to be the third person by default.
By default, honestly. But also, the way he's acted, he's a little likable until you remember everything horrible he did.
Yeah.
They got, but that's for soon. Claudia is horrified that her vision lasted a second. And she's screaming at the doctor, furious, but the doctor's long since left. So she is trying to, make her way outside in an apartment building that she owns all of. And the elevators aren't working, so she's got to take the stairs. And it's worth noting, the way they do this is they have the actor in basically, a black void. So we can see the actor, but everything around her is just pitch black. You'd assume, a nice stylistic little touch, but maybe not. But it's very well done, and I heard that filming it was a pain in the butt.
Oh god, I bet it was. I'm not even sure how you would do it.
She makes her way outside, still can't see anything, she's, screaming. She can hear car horns, and there's, lots of traffic because it's New York City. She can hear lots of things, but she can't see anything. And she's, behind a wall or something, because we cut
Yeah, it was a gate?
Yeah, we cut to over that, and we find out that there's been a horrible blackout in New York City, so all the power has gone everywhere.
The moment she got her vision.
Yeah. If she could look over that gate, or if she opened it, she'd see perfectly, there's all these cars with lights and everything. And once again, like the paintings of the last segment, you've got to have suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, because it's... Yeah.
Because she would see that, you would see, car lights.
You would see some lights, yeah.
Especially from, your big open window that you've got in your penthouse.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, she hates it, and she's not aware of this. It's an irony just for us. So she assumes her vision's gone, and she somehow climbs her way back up her penthouse by the stairs, and goes to sleep in her chair facing the window. And she wakes up the next morning to the sunrise. And she's really happy that she can actually see. She's seeing the sun for the first time in her life.
Yeah, and she's walking towards the window, and she has her arms out, and she's and her vision starts fading, and she's no, it was supposed to be 11 hours. I wanna see the sun.
And the window is a little broken.
From her tantrum.
So she's walking closer towards it, trying to get closer to the sun, and she breaks the window, falls out, and falls to her death, which is lovely. When I first saw this, I thought the ending was going to be different. I thought she was going to look at the sun again till she went blind.
Oh my god! Oh, they should have done that. That'd be so fun.
I really thought that's what they were doing. But either way...
She was just going to burn her eyes out.
Yeah, either way, she got what she wanted for a second.
Yeah, just the shittiest luck. And I mean, she deserved it. But
that poor Sydney guy. I hope he's still alive. But
yeah, we don't see Sydney again after the surgery.
He gave up his eyesight for basically nothing from her point of view, even. She didn't, you can't even say I did it for this woman's benefit. She had no benefit.
Nope, she got fucked. This one, Like the first short, Cemetery, has a really contrived ending, but yeah, like we were saying earlier, this is just a particularly contrived ending. And it works for the story they're trying to tell. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just like where's her maid? You know, she had a maid.
I guess she wanted to get rid of everyone so she could be alone to appreciate her art. She doesn't care about people.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. She wants to like experience this whole amazing thing by herself. So yeah. But yeah, it's just a little like a lot of very specific things had to happen for her to just think she was still blind, I guess. But like I said, little contrivances you kind of just have to.
That's a Rod
go with
Selling
it.
classic, is contrivances.
Yeah.
I know we will disagree with this, but I think this is my favorite of the three, maybe. This and Cemetery are the two I fight over. But when I first watched it, this was my least favorite. I will say Eyes is the fan favorite of the three. Most people think this is the best. I don't know if it's because of Spielberg's, influence, or it's definitely, I'd say, the best from a directing point of view. They do lots of weird stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But what would you give it? I'm giving it an A.
Shit.
You've got 4 or 5 letters.
I mean, can I give it an A minus?
Can't. You gotta commit. You gotta A or B it.
God damn it. Okay, I'd probably give it a B.
Yeah, that's still good. That's what we gave the Galaxy being. So,
yeah,
it's in good company. And
I mean, I thought all of these shorts were really good, really fantastic.
In terms of a package, this might be. These aren't my 3 favorite segments of Night Gallery ever. But in terms of a full sit down and watch start to finish, this might be my favorite. It's definitely up there in terms of consistency. Because you get a lot of, especially with season 2, you get a lot of inconsistencies of Night Gallery. So, yeah, when you tell someone you're sitting down for Night Gallery, you're either fast forwarding or you're just telling people, hey, put up with this. We know it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know what to expect.
You don't. You think you do. But we'll get there.
Okay. I know to expect uneven quality.
Season 2 is the one that does that the most, and it's the longest season.
Oh, good.
It's also... It seems to be, to most people, the fan favorite season, because there's lots of highs in there. It's just, when you got diamonds and then crap mixed together.
Yeah. kind of spoils the experience.
Yeah.
But no, this segment was really good. I mean, I guess I just thought the ending was just wasn't my favorite, I guess. I understand why it had to be contrived that way, and that's totally cool. I can put on my good time hat and go with it. But yeah, it's just out of these 3, I guess it would be the one.
And you still like it. This isn't one of her season 2 moments.
No, it wasn't bad. I thought it was, I really loved it, honestly. Yeah. It's just out of these 3.
No, I get it. There's strong competition here because we have, finally, Escape Route, directed by Barry Shear. This is the most political of the 3.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's about Helmut Arndt, who was a Nazi officer, who was basically high up in some concentration camps. But he is now living in South America, on the run from the authorities. And he's going by the new name of Joseph Strobe. I need to be careful of how I phrase this because he is a monster. And you're meant to hate him. But they do try to humanize him at points. And he is very much affected by what he has done. He is a very depressed man. And he hears reminders of the past everywhere, his faucet is dripping and he hears heil, heil, heil every time it drips.
Yeah. And his fan, he heard gunshots.
So he's very haunted, but that's not to minimize what he's done, but you can be both a horrible human being and dislike yourself for being a horrible human being at the same time.
Yeah, the segment might humanize him at some points, but it never ever lets him off the hook for anything.
Oh yeah, and we'll definitely see that towards the end.
Oh yeah.
But and that's the thing, I was saying, by default, this is probably the worst of the 3 protagonists, but
yeah,
he's also maybe humanized the most, which I find kind of funny. He's portrayed really well, and he has like a really distinctive facial scar, which will be important. So we can properly identify him in other mediums.
Yeah. I think it's just like with the subject matter, you have to go at it with like nuance.
And it's worth reminding people that this was only like 24 years after World War II ended. Rod Serling was a Jewish man that also was a soldier in World War II.
I love how much that man hates Nazis.
Oh yeah, we need more of that today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are plenty of episodes of The Twilight Zone that covered this kind of thing, and they were always really good.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe there's a Night Gallery of Nazis as well, that was fun in a shit way.
Oh no.
No, it's good. It's just like, you get things like Death's Head Revisited, and even this that are very touching, like very touching, emotional, hard to watch things. And then you get like a Night Gallery segment that is good and fun to watch, but it's also it's filled with Nazis and bad shit happening. It's about Nazis, vampires, and werewolves in one fun segment.
But also, I just want to say, my guess on this segment was the closest one.
You were right. We were talking about that, and you were basically saying a man wanting to escape from hell and escape from like the crimes of what he had done in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty dang close.
Helmut's neighbor in this like shitty apartment complex is, Portifoy levels of greatness.
Oh, I love her so much.
Yeah. She's a sex worker in a, clearly in a lower end part of the city. She is probably the closest thing Helmut has to a friend, and she will talk to him but still fucking hates him.
Yeah, I think at one point she said that like she can hear him having nightmares, and she's like, I hear all that fear coming through the wall, and it's a lullaby, and I'm like, God damn, get him, yeah.
I love her. And like
she's the best.
She has like a sailor visiting him at the apartment, and Helmut sees this and like punches the guy away. And she basically says, like,
they're making a bunch of noise.
Yeah, and she'd be like, she says something like, "Who would you be without your fists?" And this is like Helmut's closest friend. So he's not doing well. He is very paranoid. He goes out to the city, and he thinks people are chasing him. So he hops on a bus and eventually gets off when they're not behind him. And we do find out this isn't actually people chasing him, it's just some people having a fun time in the city. So he was afraid for nothing.
Yeah, I think at like certain points when he was on the bus, the lights would like flash, and just for a second he'd be like back in his Nazi uniform.
This Nazi's got a little bit of trauma, if you can call it that. We find out it's more so not trauma, it's more he hates that like his regime has ended. So they try to humanize him, but it really is that he's sad that
this is what his life is.
Yeah, this is what his life
basically.
is.
Like what's been reduced to.
The Nazis had a grand plan, and he's sad that he's now living a shitty life. The show knows he's a piece of shit, and he falls off and stops masking, and kind of becomes an even bigger piece of shit later on. But at this point, he's like a soft little boy that committed war crimes worse than anything we can imagine.
Yeah, but he's so sad.
He is. He goes to a museum, like an art gallery. From the audience's point of view, there's only two paintings that matter. And there's a red dinosaur skeleton as well that keeps getting caught in shots. But other than that, there is a painting of a crucifixion happening at a concentration camp. And there is an elderly Jewish man called Bloom who was looking at it, basically talking about how he knew someone that was crucified back in the day and how much of a horror it is. And
yeah, just awful.
Bloom, he is like 90% sure that Helmut is who he is. And it's basically like, oh, are you German? And Helmut's like saying, no, I'm Hungarian. But Helmut's not a talker. So he basically denies all this, and then Bloom basically says that he was at Auschwitz and Oranienburg. Once again, like, this is only a few decades past. It's, like, horrible. Thankfully, there's no horrible war crimes in our lifetime.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've evolved into our better selves.
yeah. So Helmut stares longingly at the one other painting that matters, and it's actually like directly opposite the crucifixion painting. It's showing a man in a river or like a lake, and like a beautiful mountainside, and he's fishing in a small fishing boat, and it's like this idyllic, picturesque thing. And he keeps staring at it, and he sees the painting, it kind of shifts, and the man's face kind of turns a bit, and we see more of it, and he has the same distinctive facial scar that Helmut has. It's like he's in the painting.
Yeah, and he's just like enraptured by this.
Man,
Just this image of him being peacefully in the middle of a river.
yeah. It's an idyllic life, and he clearly wants something more like this rather than being basically a runaway with no life. He just wants to escape all the punishments for doing bad things. He's looking at the painting until the staff tell him, hey, the place is closed, leave. So he goes back next morning, like a few minutes before they open, and basically waits until they open. And then he runs straight to the painting and just looks at it. This is all he cares about now.
He just wants to stare at this fisherman painting.
And he feels that if he looks at it and tries and focuses hard enough, he will be transported into the painting.
And yeah, there's like, he has this whole conversation with the sex worker. Her name is Gretchen, I think. Yeah, where it's like they're separated by a wall, and it's kind of like looking at it face on. It's really good. And he's talking about how, oh, if there's a merciful God, all I want is a chance to survive without having to look over my shoulder. You think Gretchen's going to say something to comfort him, but she does not. It's awesome.
She's great, and unlike Portifoy, she gets a happy ending. She doesn't suffer horribly. He keeps looking at this painting. I believe he just basically looks at it all day, and he has to leave again. But he's focusing so hard. He is really convinced he can get in there. I think while he was looking at it, a kind of trippy effect played where he was sort of getting into the painting, sort of not.
Yeah, it like got this weird colorful overlay, and then just like for a second it was really him.
He got yanked out because the place was closing. He was so close. He just needs like one more day maybe. During his time at that museum as well, Bloom comes back and is basically calling Helmut by his name. Helmut's denying, oh, that's not me, I'm Joseph Strobe. And Bloom is like, well, I knew a guy that looked like you, and he was the biggest piece of shit in the world.
Yeah, he said that he was the one who, like, decided who was gonna live and die when they came into the camp.
live temporarily and die immediately.
Just the worst, the terrible human.
He's not the soft boy that we knew at the beginning. We're finding out he's a little problematic.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get cancelled for this one.
At night, after the museum is closed, he goes to a bar, and remember, we're in Argentina right now, and there's a lot of people singing in Spanish. It's a really lovely song. And Helmut is just... everyone's having a great time. They don't even know there's a Nazi here. So Helmut is, he's getting sadder and sadder. He starts singing his own little song, Deutschland Lied, I believe it's called. It's a song, it's a German poem that became a song, and it has a long history, but it was particularly used as a Nazi anthem, if you can believe it. And he's singing this song loudly, louder and louder. He started muttering it, and he just gets louder and louder and walks over the bar, basically dominating the whole thing, singing his Nazi anthem to a crowd of confused and scared onlookers.
Yeah, he like knocks over the guitar player and like breaks his guitar and is like swinging the guitar. Oh no, what's that called? Not the handle, but
you've dug yourself into this hole. You've got to. I'm not helping.
God damn, the neck, the guitar neck. I think that's what it's called.
I don't know. I'll take you. I'll trust you on that.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyone who plays guitar, I'm so sorry.
And we're sorry to our blind listeners and our guitar playing listeners. We're not sorry to the Nazi listeners, though.
Never.
Even if you seem slightly humanized for a little bit, because hopefully
the facade will get ripped away slowly.
Yeah.
Through the episode.
just like real life, but the problem is no one in real life, like no one in power seems to notice or care. I'm gonna cut this, but I was like gonna like say in like a horribly dated way, he Elons himself.
Yeah.
Helmut is very out and open, and Bloom is conveniently there. He seems to always be in the same place as him. And Bloom basically, he baits Helmut into confirming who he is. Because Helmut's got his back turned, and then Bloom says something pro-Nazi. And Helmut's like, yeah. And when he turns around, it's like, oh, it's you.
Yeah, he says something in German.
Yeah. And German and Nazis are not, like, the same thing. And so we've got to apologize to another subsect of our listeners. It just might have just been regular German. Bloom basically says that he's already told others that Helmut's here. He's reported him to the authorities. And Helmut decides to strangle him in an alley, violently. And Bloom says that he is, like, the 6 millionth and first.
Yeah. Yeah, and Strobe is just, like, full asshole here. He's just like, oh, still the martyr, huh? Like, what? So evil.
Yeah, but he runs away from his horrible crime, and he tries to get a bus out of the city. Authorities catch up with him.
Yeah, there's detectives on his tail now.
And they detain him, but he breaks free. And because he tries to bargain with them, and they're like, no. Because they've been capturing all these other Nazis, and basically everyone higher up than him has already been, like, captured or killed. So he's next on the list. So his bargaining doesn't go anywhere. But he runs away, breaks into the museum, and it's very dark in there because it's closed. Like, security sees him and they like get into a fight. But basically, he goes to where the painting is, and he's like, God, if you're real, I beg you, please let me into this picture. And then he does, but we hear screaming from him.
I think you can see where this is going.
Yeah, we can see where this is going, but the lights are on now, and the detectives are after him, and they're like, what happened to that fishing painting? I'm like, that was on loan and we returned it, but we put the crucifix painting where it used to be.
Yep.
So now
he got sucked into that painting.
He got sucked into the concentration camp crucifixion, and we can see that the guy in the painting has the same scar he does, and he is just trapped there forever. And
yeah, on the cross. On
the cross, screaming in agony. And
yeah, it's awesome.
That's our fun, happy ending.
I called it too. I was like, that's gonna be the wrong painting. And I was right. I just love a good Twilight Zone bad end. Well, Night Gallery bad end.
Yeah, but also, this is a bad end for a protagonist, good end for humanity.
Yeah, exactly. A bad end for someone who deserved it.
I like when that happens, and I don't like when they kill Portifoy for no reason.
Yeah, no. Maybe he got out.
Portifoy is in the fishing painting now. So, how would you rank Escape Route? I
don't want to sound like I'm being, overly generous, but I would give this one an A2.
No, I'm happy you did, because I love this, but unfortunately it is my least favorite of the three, so I gave it the B. It's good, it's great, I love it. I just like the other two much more. During Eyes, it was very unpleasant watching Sydney basically go through all his turmoil. And this is a whole segment of that, where I feel bad the entire time I'm watching it.
Yeah, it is not a cheery watch.
This is very much this is the Rod Serling classic of Nazis suck. Earlier, I said I'd have to explain some of the backstory. So, in 1967, Rod Serling wrote a book. It was actually a compilation of 3 novellas, and it was called The Season to Be Wary. Now,
yeah, I didn't know he
wrote this book, and keep in mind, 1967, you've got a good idea of what the politics were like at the time, especially for a man that was big on social justice and not the biggest fan of the Vietnam War. So his book was very kind of spiteful and angry and pessimistic. 2 of the stories in it were Eyes and Escape Route. So they were adapted from his own story that he had written previously. They were a little different.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because they were novellas, they had the time to elaborate a bit more on it and basically go more into depth with the characters and how shit they were. Networks were interested in this book and kind of wanted to adapt it somehow. But they wanted something a bit more horror-themed. So Rod Serling got rid of one of the stories and put in The Cemetery. So that was the one that he wrote much later, specifically for TV. And that's why it is the most traditional horror. The rest are like, damn, that sucks. The other story it had was called Color Scheme, and it was about a white supremacist in the Jim Crow South, and he fucking hates all kinds of people of color, if you can imagine, and blames them for everything, and then he winds up switching bodies with a black man.
Oh.
That one has never been adapted. From what I can tell, it's still only as a book. Now is just the section where I quickly check IMDb, even though I wrote this stuff down earlier.
Ooh. Yeah, I recognize Joan Crawford, obviously, and John Bosley, because I'd watched Happy Days with my mom all.
I have never watched Happy Days and didn't know who Tom Bosley was, except I've heard the name. So I've only seen this actor be the saddest, most miserable guy in the world. And I believe he plays a much more cheery guy in Happy Days.
Yeah, he has a lot better time in Happy Days.
So from my point of view, he looks like an actor that was born to be miserable and...
to be a sad sack.
Yeah. Good for him. George McCready. Now, he played Hendrix, the old man. He was born in 1899, which, it's always nice to see someone born a century earlier. That's going to be us in several decades when people are like, can you believe they were born in the 20th century?
Yeah, I know. I think about that and it just, trips me up.
But he had a long and prolific life. This would have been one of the later things he had filmed, because he had died a few years after this. He was in an Outer Limits episode, and the Twilight Zone episode. He's one of the guys in all three. To your point of view, the Twilight Zone episode he was in was Season 5's The Long Morrow, which is, if you remember it, it's the one where, these two lovers love each other, but one of them has to go into space for decades. It's not one of, the standout classics, but it's a nice episode, and he plays the Doctor in that one. Roddy McDowall is the one that I want to focus on. He played Jeremy. Mm-hmm. He was in a Twilight Zone.
Familiar.
He was in a Twilight Zone episode. The People Are Alike All Over, where the two people go to Mars.
And he gets put in the human zoo?
Yep, he's one of those guys.
Yeah! Oh my god, that must be where I'm recognizing him from.
Maybe. Have you ever seen Planet of the Apes?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
You need to.
While hanging out with my grandparents.
The original,
but I've never seen the whole thing.
The original movie, I believe the script or teleplay or something, was written by Rod Serling. It was based on a short story written by someone else. No, short story. It was based on a regular size story, but it was very different. And then Rod Serling adapted it to be, for all the Planet of the Apes heads out there, he played Cornelius in the first movie, Caesar in a lot of the sequels, and there were 2 different Planet of the Apes TV shows in the 70s, if you can believe it. One was live action and the other was animated, and he was in the live action one as, I believe his name is Galler. I've only seen the movies.
Yeah, I'm not an educated ape head either.
Yeah,
so.
They're good movies, sometimes. They're more good than bad. The first one's great, and the sequels have varying degrees of quality.
So cool.
Yeah.
And then he got to be a smarmy nephew.
After he was in the Human Zoo.
Yeah. That episode was great. I love the Human Zoo episode.
Okay, I'm glad. This isn't to shame any other podcasts out there, but I listen to a lot of... There's a lot of Twilight Zone podcasts, and I listen to them. And then there's one Outer Limits and one Night Gallery podcast, which makes me sad. But I have heard such varying opinions of Twilight Zone episodes out there. There seems to be no consensus.
I bet.
And that Human Zoo episode, they gave a really low rating to on one of the podcasts
What?
I listened
That
to.
That episode is fun as shit.
I love it.
I like that episode.
But, that's kind of why I wanted to rank everything with you and get different opinions, because I know we will disagree on stuff, and we'll disagree with what others have said, and, there's no wrong opinions, unless you gave Escape Route, a D or something.
No. That's just objectively wrong. I don't care if opinions are subjective. That's objectively wrong.
We have Barry Atwater. He played Carson in The Cemetery. He was also on a Twilight Zone episode and an Outer Limits episode.
Another hat trick.
Mm-hmm. In Outer Limits, he was in Corpus Earthling, which we'll get to later. And he was Les Goodman in The Monsters That Do on Maple Street.
What was that one about?
That's like one of the fan favorite episodes. Wow, you just upset half our listeners.
No, I'm sure I've seen it.
You have, in fact.
It's been a while.
One of the podcasts I listened to is even named after that episode specifically.
No, I know the name. I'm just like, which one was it?
For the record, like, a lot of these actors appeared in, like, Twilight Zone or Outer Limits, but not all three. And I don't want to, like, shout out every single person who's in one of them, because there's a lot. But I found those to be some of the more interesting actors. Speaking of prioritizing, we're finally up to the show people care about, the Twilight Zone, which is what we'll be doing next episode. But instead of starting with episode 1, I want to start with episode 0. Are you familiar with the time element? I take that as a no. It was a 1958 episode of the Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse. This is one of the many anthology series back in the 50s. Rod Serling wrote this as a pilot for his own TV show, which would become The Twilight Zone, but it was bought as an individual script to be on the Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse. So this is Rod Serling's first attempt at writing anything kind of science fiction fantasy-ish. It's very Twilight Zone coded in like the way it's done, but it is from a different TV show technically. It's an honorary episode. They even include this on the Blu-ray for Twilight Zone, which is amazing. This episode was so loved at the time that it got lots of letters from the public basically wanting more like this. And then CBS saw that and were like, okay, Rod, we're going to give you your own TV show. So this is Rod Serling. He had written for anthology TV before this, but this was the thing that made him the Twilight Zone guy. So we're going to start off with the time element. Before we get to any of the episodes, you've got to listen to like 5 episodes of us before we get to an episode you've heard of.
Yeah, get fucked.
But no, it's a really interesting historical time capsule. It'll be the only time I can ask, what do you think happens on this Twilight Zone? Based on the title, The Time Element.
Okay. Well, obviously it has to do with time. Okay, the time element. Well, fuck. Okay, somebody figures out how to time travel, and they fuck something up, and then they get Twilight Zone bad-ended.
That's a good guess. We'll find out.
That's vague as shit, but I'm casting the net wide.
If you say it like that, there's a higher chance you'll be right. Just like how you said last time that like a guy will try to escape from all his bad crimes.
Yeah, and I nailed it.
It's good to be vague. You can follow us on Blue Sky at sci-frightzone.bsy.social, or you can follow our personal social media at freezer.bsy.social.
I am at birdwoman.geekcritique.org.
We now return control of your podcatcher to you. Until next time, when the control voice takes you back to the Sci-Fright Zone.